The onboarding areas at the start of The Witness aims to do two things: teach the player how to complete puzzles and teach the player that the game is non-linear. The latter is incredibly important for this title, as puzzle games then and now aren't known for their non-linearity. Instead, most players would expect and attempt to play the game one puzzle after another as they come across them. If players do this in The Witness, they are sure to end up frustrated and most likely put the game down. The game is designed around the idea that different areas give the player different ideas, which will later help them complete other puzzles they found too hard. Some puzzles that are designed to onboard the player into a new concept might be geographically placed a lot later in the experience than a more complicated puzzle that uses that concept. As said, if the player didn't realise this, it could be dire to their experience, and tangibly for the developers, it could have serious consequences for the review scores, especially user scores on Steam. Therefore, having an onboarding experience that teaches the player about the non-linear style of gameplay the title has is important, and this is how they did it. Once the player completes the first two puzzles they come across, which by the way is incredibly linear, you can't even turn the camera around before you complete the first puzzle, the level opens up for the player to freely explore. In this area, the player is taught a few things which are vital to understanding the structure of The Witness. First, they are taught that wires can light up when you complete a puzzle. This implies that something has changed, potentially something has gained power. The players should also make this connection, as their goal in the area is to power on the big gate to exit the area. Next, the players should follow either a powered on wire or a powered off wire. Either way, the player is taught about how the connections between puzzle screens are important. If they follow a powered off wire, they will come across a powered off screen, showing the player that there is a consequence of them not providing power to the screen. They cannot complete the puzzle. Then if they follow the powered on wire, they should come across another puzzle to complete. If they continue this cycle of powering on screens and going to them, they will eventually come across the final puzzle in the area before they unlock the gate. This puzzle is designed incredibly well. It is the first puzzle to offer two solutions and the first puzzle to output two wires that can gain power, but only one at a time. The smart design comes from the fact that the first solution powers on a wire that has nothing to do with the area at all. This is the first hint of non-linearity that the player comes across. It teaches the player that despite this puzzle being located in this area, it can affect other areas, even before the area has been completed. Once the player realises this and completes the second solution, they can unlock the gate and progress. So to recap what the player learns in this area: wires connect puzzles, puzzles can be interacted with in any order so long as they have power, and puzzles can impact other areas without having completed the current area. Now, a lot of legwork is done in this area to subtly indicate non-linearity and get the player used to the cadence of the structure of the rest of the game. However, the biggest and most important design decision made regarding onboarding is yet to come. Once the player leaves the area, they are met with a small fork in the road, where two sets of puzzles are available. The one on the right is in the distance and relatively low contrast to the environment, whilst the one on the left is much closer and high contrast. This is all to guide the player to try the puzzle on the left first, and also show the player that they have access to two puzzles without any blockers, if the player does try to complete it. Unless by chance or by some miracle that they can figure it out, no matter how hard they try, they will not be able to complete the puzzle. Again, this is because they do not have enough information in order to complete it. The idea here is that hopefully the player will remember that they had seen another puzzle further down the road and abandoned this puzzle for that one. This should cement the idea to the player that it is okay to leave puzzles behind and return to them later, which should hopefully trigger the realization that this game is a non-linear game. Now, when it comes to your game, this does not have to be about puzzles. If your game is non-linear and the player can tackle your game in any which way, it is important to teach the player that it is okay to do this through onboarding. Whether it's a tutorial, dialogue, level design or whatever, you need to do something. Just exposing the player to the whole game without helping them through it can potentially lead to frustration and the feeling of being overwhelmed. And I think that we can agree that if the Witness just dropped the player in the middle of its expansive map, this would surely be the case. Thanks for watching, and keep on keeping on.